And here's another rarity. Complete Unknown, his biopic about Bob Dylan. I really want to see it. The Oscar nominations came out, and I hardly know anything. I'm usually pretty movie literate. This year, I don't know why. I just haven't been, but I really want to see Complete Unknown. And and Chalamet was just wonderful. I have to
Well, evidently, the one movie that's getting all the buzz is because it's so awful. Perez. Amelia Shyamalan, Perez,
Three Dog Night. I don't know.
Navarro.
I don't know if it's terrible or.
Well, the scenes I've seen posted look goofy. It's weird.
But here's the stigma, and here's why no one will be able to be objective about it. Emilia Perez is the story of a Mexican cartel leader who enlists the aid of an attorney because he wants to transition to a woman. So just here we go again. And as I've already said on this show, and I'll say 50 times, God bless people. I pray for mental health for these folks. But this is propaganda on steroids. It's designed to make everybody just feel great.
Let's talk about
giving into gender dysphoria.
Yeah, let's talk about the mental health aspect of this, because I think it's very important, especially in light of the Selena Gomez video, because everybody's talking about it. And there's a couple takeaways that I think are very, very important about this young woman's video. First of all, and I think this is important, and maybe a little bit of compassion is in order here. I don't disagree with anything you've said about her, but let me share with you what I know. Well, she's apparently she's had a long struggle with mental health. Yeah. She has a lot of mental health challenges. Now, I have no idea. I barely know who she is. I'm stunned that a young actress who's 30-something is worth over $1 billion. I don't know.
Been that successful, you'll get $1 billion.
Well, but not acting. And so how does that happen? Well, apparently she has a very successful beauty product line, and that's what made her a billionaire. So good on her. I mean, in terms of being successful. But a couple of things because the mental health aspect of this is important. The people who are truly mentally unwell have become unhinged in the Trump presidency. And she is apparently, again, somebody who has challenged with bipolar, mood disorder, eating disorders, lots of mental health problems. So you take a young woman with mental health problems, and then you give her a platform with millions and millions of followers. Oh, yeah. And she posts a video of herself that is, like you said, moronic and bizarre and insane. Now, here's the thing, the second part of this that I think is very, very important. I know a lot of actors. I really do. I know a lot of people, and I've known some very successful actors, stage, screen, TV. This is a fact. The more successful they are, and I'm not saying this to attack them. I'm telling you this as a statement of fact. The more successful they are, Mark, the more narcissistic they are. It's an absolute cardinal rule. And some of them are wonderful people. I think it has to do with all the rejection they get in their lives, because they're, for 10 roles that they're up for, they lose out on 9 of them.
Absolutely.
Or worse. And so I think it's a coping mechanism that the world now must revolve around them. And they are as narcissistic a person as anything I've ever seen in my life. In fact, I've kidded around with some of them because I'm like, do you realize what a narcissist you are? Well, yeah, I'm an actor. I get it. Okay, so let's keep that in mind too. Okay. And finally, and this goes hand in hand with my final observation of her video, remember something. She didn't have a camera crew pop up into her living room when she was in a low moment about the poor children being dragged from their families. Right. She did that herself. Yep. In other words, she took a camera, pointed it at herself, and then goes into the ugly cry, sobbing hysteria about, I don't know what to do about the law being enforced suddenly after the years of lawlessness we've seen of illegal immigration. But understand, it's back to the narcissism and the performative nature of what she did. She wanted you to see her. You mentioned that earlier in your monologue.
Me. I'm a better person than you because I am level. leveled by evil Trump. Right. Mm-hmm.
That's right. And she did it. She did it intentionally. It was not like, it reminds me of reality shows. You know, and Denise and I used to love the Ozzy Osbourne reality show. We used to think that was the coolest thing.
Just the best.
It was one of the first ones of that genre, right? It was like the pioneer of that. You forget there are camera crews and lighting people and best boys and grips and crews in those houses. They're not in that house alone having an argument.
Yep.
They're performing. Anybody who thinks any of the Real Housewives storylines are legitimate and authentic are fools. Every one of those things is all performative. They do it for the show. So, and that was what Selena Gomez was all about. So I really do feel, I mean, I'm not shedding any tears for her. I mean,
as you often do. Here's what you have shed. Valuable light on something that everybody should consider, and multiple things can be true at the same time. Is this an idiotic burst of possibly contrived emotion from Selena Gomez? Yes. Does she deserve our empathy for any kind of mental health struggle, any kind of vulnerability she may have?
Yep.
Absolutely.
You bet.
Here's the missing element here, though. She would not be shedding any of those tears if she put the functioning brain in her head to work a little harder to realize that it is not evil to obey immigration law. If she were conservative, she would not be crying, which is not a mandate that everybody be conservative. But if you weren't so totally wrong and duped and brainwashed by the left, you would not be so leveled by enforcing.
I can promise you she hasn't shed one tear for people like Lincoln Riley. I can promise you she hasn't shed
the victims of soft borders.
She hasn't shed any tears for communities that have been ravaged by hordes of migrants who have upended communities. She hasn't cried for drunk driving victims of illegals. She hasn't cried for any of those people. She wants to cry for, and incidentally, her people. Newsflash: she was born in Texas. You know, I mean, she ain't exactly from Guadalajara, you know, so I always love that. And my people, oh, these are my people. Oh, yeah, what, Texans?
No,
oh, give me a break.
Ethnically, I mean, you know.
Oh, give me a break. She's a princess from Texas who fell into this great career, and now she's a billionaire, and she can, look, I'm not kidding you. Take all that money, invest it in shelters, start housing a lot of them, put them in your home. You got and she's got a big, beautiful home with a gate, a massive gate. Now, there's some irony there, Mark.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that she seeks to control who comes into her home? Mike, is this what you're saying to me?
Color me shocked. Color me shocked. I mean, here's what Benny Johnson wrote about her. She's American. Her mom is American. Her Mexican father abandoned them. She went from living in a small Texas home to a palace in L.A. She's a billionaire because of America. Now, this is the other part of this that I always think is so intriguing. The Selena Gomez's of the world, who are now essentially condemning this country for enforcing laws, this country made her rich and famous. Yes. I always love the lack of gratitude that they have for not appreciating, without this country, maybe she's working at a Target. Maybe she's in community theater in Peoria, Illinois. Instead, she's this billionaire because we made her rich and famous. This country gave that to her, and they never, ever managed to remember that. I always think that's fascinating.
I would think you'd be a huge consumer of at least one part of her work, because the big thing that's made her more famous in the last couple of years than anything is her hanging out with Steve Martin and Marty Short in which I've not seen an episode of, Only Murders in the Building.
I kind of missed it. I missed that one.
Them. I don't know, just haven't been there.
I watched it one night and I couldn't really get into it. It's kind of schmaltzy and funny. But anyway, maybe I'll get around to it. Anyway, look, let's get down to business here. How about Google is now going to rename the Gulf of Mexico Gulf of America? Google, on the Google Maps.
My.
Yep, they are the Geographic Names Information System, GNIS, is going to be officially updated, and when that happens, they're going to update Google Maps.
That's tremendous.
It's Gulf of America, and then finally, conversation starter, as you love to say. How about Jim Acosta out at CNN?
Is he out or just midnight?
Oliver Darcy of Status News.
Yeah.
Oliver's a former CNN reporter, and he's got his own deal now.
Yeah.
He's got a scoop, and he's reporting that Acosta is telling his associates he will leave the network.
Gotcha.
And the whole narrative is that, you know, he was on at like 10 a.m. and allegedly good ratings. But this new guy, and I had lunch with somebody yesterday who knows the CEO, the new CEO of CNN, guy by the name of Mark Thompson. Mark Thompson's whole push is let's pretend to be fair.
Yeah.
Let's give both sides.
Yep.
Let's and the activists like Jim Acosta, and he is an activist, man. Do you know my famous Jim Acosta Seb Gorka story? Do you? Have I ever told you that story?
Where he was Jim? Were they yelling at each other at the White House?
Yeah, Seb and I got invited to the Oval Office in the first Trump term, and we were staged in the White House press briefing room waiting to go into the Oval Office for a meeting with President Trump. Acosta comes slinking by, looks up at Gorka, because everybody looks up at Gorka. He looks up at Seb and says, "This room is supposed to be for real journalists." And then walks away. Well, Gorka, being Gorka, starts bellowing, "What did you say to me, Abilio? Come back here,
right.
Abilio.
The real name.
Abilio. What, are you ashamed of your Hispanic heritage?" Now, the color drained on Acosta's face. He couldn't get out of that room fast enough. And it turns out Jim Acosta's real first name is Abilio.
Abilio James Acosta. Yep.
That's correct. Well, Gorka knew that. Of course, Acosta evidently doesn't want people to know that, and that's why he goes by Jim, which is his middle name, James. Anyway, here's what I know today. As of today, Seb Gorka is gainfully employed, proudly serving his country in the White House in counterterrorism, and Abilio is apparently going to be out of work.
Well, they shunted him over to midnight.
Midnight to 2 a.m.
Which on midnight on CNN, we may have more people listening to and watching us right now than midnight on CNN.
I promise you,
I know
we
you
do.
do.
And you know what? And you know how they tried to sell it to him? Have you heard this?
Oh, no,
this is an Oliver Darcy's reporting.
What?
Well, you'll be at 9 p.m. on the West Coast. I think he got insulted. I mean, even Abilio has some common sense.
So his exit
he knows when he's being played.
Is a strong rumor. We'll see what happens. Last thing for rumors, and look, this was always stupid. Barack Obama and Jennifer Aniston are not dating, never were. Michelle's absence made a lot of people trolling for clickbait.
But what's going on with Michelle?
Well, I don't know, but it's not that.
Well, something is, Mark.
And maybe there is trouble in paradise in some form. I don't know. But
or
the
maybe
notion
she's
of them
ill.
Dating was just stupid.
But maybe Michelle, I wonder what's going on with Michelle Obama. She didn't go to the Jimmy Carter funeral. Yep. She didn't go to the inauguration. She's been not seen in public. Obama has. Barack is out going to dinner by himself. Something's going on. And look, regardless of what I think of them politically, I hope she's okay.
I do too.
Because that could be something going on there with her.
Listen, of course I don't want anything bad to be going on with her health-wise, but how about if she is just a shallow, persnickety woman who would not show up for the Trump inauguration because she hates him and wouldn't show up even for the Carter funeral because she'd have to sit by him? Isn't that Occam's razor the simplest explanation, that she's just petty?
Maybe. Well, that she could. Look, you know what I remember of her? She only became proud of her country when her husband ran for president. And I'll never forget that one.
There you go.
That was you go say that. For the first time in your life, you're proud of America only because your husband ran for president. Unbelievable. But you know what? It's a new day. You said something about an extra spring in your step. Isn't it fun to come to work now every day? Every day.
It always has been a joy and a blessing, but there's something about these days, man. There's something about these days.
You go with that. I know that hasn't always been a joy or blessing for me in the past. Not the last 4 years, but boy, I'm loving work now. I am loving it.
He's
All
ready.
right, have a great one.
We will.
How we go?
It is the Tuesday Mike Gallagher Show. As soon as we're done, 10 o'clock, right here on 660 AM. The Answer.